Tonight on KSL Outdoors. There we go.
Nice!
Eagles on the board again.
Biologists at Flaming Gorge are asking anglers to pitch in.
Anglers are catching lake trout pups and releasing. That's the concern.
They'll fillet up nice.
How you can help this fishery out by targeting small lake trout. Next up on KSL Outdoors.
KSL Outdoors with Adam Eagle is brought to you by your local Ford stores.
Welcome to KSL Outdoors and welcome to a beautiful day here at Flaming Gorge. I'm Adam Eagle. Today we're going to chase lake trout pups, and we're going to tell you why biologists both in Utah and Wyoming are concerned about the amount of lake trout pups we have here in the reservoir. We're going to show you how to catch them and tell you why you should catch and keep those fish.
So Rob, when people first come out here, I mean, what's the first thing, kind of structure, where should they be fishing?
So what I typically look for is flats that are 55 to 65 feet deep, but I like to fish right on the edge of the flat, right where it drops off into deep waters. These features are all over the lake. You just find the features and the fish are going to vary from, sometimes they'll be as shallow as 45 feet, sometimes they're going to be down 75. They come up on the flats to feed. The fishing has been just amazing. We've been able to catch at limits 8 fish without too much trouble, especially early in the morning.
Flaming Gorge Reservoir is no doubt the best trophy lake trout fishery in the West. But as the old saying goes, too much of a good thing can be bad. That is exactly what is happening here at the gorge.
There he is! Fish on! Ooh!
The lake trout population is exploding, especially the pup population. That's a lake trout under 28 inches. Just in the past few years, biologists have noted an 89% increase in the lake trout population, and that overpopulation has the potential to start affecting the trophy component here.
At the start, we knew in the 90s that small lake trout population was increasing, which is why in 2006 we implemented the 8 fish limit, which was just a way for us to kind of target and exploit those individuals. And it seemed to work for a few years, but now we know a decade later that, we're still on an increasing trend. So we need to do a little bit more outreach and really ask anglers to harvest those individuals.
Oh, I saw that one. Oh.
Last year we also collected some otoliths, that's the ear bone of the fish,
that was a good hit.
And it's a great structure to collect to do age and growth work.
Nice.
The only time we had done it before was in 1992. In 92, an 8-year-old fish was about 30.5 inches long, so about 11 pounds. And in 2016, that same 8-year-old fish is about 22 inches, or 3 pounds. So we're talking a drastic change in growth rates for the same age of fish. 8 pounds is a lot and substantial to anglers.
Yeah!
Come on, stay buttoned up.
Especially when they have to wait twice as long now to actually catch a 30-inch fish.
There he is. Nice little pup. Got some meat to him. Thank you, sir. You're saying that could be a 6, 8-year-old fish?
Yeah, that's likely, 6 to 8, maybe even 9-year-old fish.
Anglers are catching lake trout pups and releasing. That's the concern. I mean, if kokanee fishermen are out catching lake trout and they're releasing 86% of what they catch, that's a concern. If lake trout fishermen are out catching them and they're releasing 80% of what they catch, that's a concern. So we're just asking them to help us out and help thin the herd, if they will. Nice. You're gonna have a lot of skinny fish, a lot of fish in poor condition. You're probably gonna lose the trophy component. You can look at other reservoirs across the West. They've dealt with similar conditions. Flaming Gorge has been pretty fortunate up to this point.
Anglers will say that do want to come up and catch them. They'll say, well, the limit's only 8 and the possession's only 8. So I can come up for 2-3 days, but I can only catch 8. Do you think there's a possibility of maybe making a change to that?
There is. We're discussing some of these changes. Like I told you earlier, the problem is anglers aren't keeping 8. We need them to keep the limit that we have right now. And I have no problem, as everybody else here, I'm sure, we have no problem trying to raise the limit. And we'll work towards that. But we need anglers to keep the limit that we have right now.
So whether you like lake trout or not, it really doesn't matter. It's, do you like kokanee? Do you like big lake trout? Do you like coming up here and catching the rainbows or the cutthroats? Because these small pups could have an impact on those species as well. So do your part. Get out here, catch the fish, and you know, take them home and enjoy them. They're actually a really good fish. Coming up, we'll show you some techniques, whether you have a boat or whether you're going to do it on ice, whether you like to troll or jig. Coming up, but first, tonight's climate quiz question.
Although commonly called a trout, the lake trout is actually in the char genus. In North America, this genus includes the bull trout, dolly varden, and Arctic char. Our climate quiz question tonight is, what other species found in Utah is also considered a char? Now, once you know the answer, log on to our KSL Outdoors Facebook page, give us the correct answer, and we'll randomly select and announce a winner on our page the following week. The winner, set to walk away with a Climate Static V sleeping pad. And here's the answer to last week's question, which was, can you name the smallest Utah record fish species by weight ever caught in Utah? Here's the answer. A golden trout caught in 1977 by Breck Tuttle in Atwood Creek is the smallest to date on record. His catch was a hefty 14 ounces. KSL Outdoors, powered by Ford, will be right back to Flaming Gorge.
KSL Outdoors is also brought to you by Smith & Edwards, Fish Tech Outfitters, Utah State Parks, Burt Brothers, Climate, King's Camo, and Camp Chef.
Oh! There we go.
Nice!
Eagle's on the board again.
Welcome back to Flaming Gorge Reservoir.
Only stripping a little line.
Well, hopefully we've inspired you to come out and catch some lake trout. So if you're going to jig for them like we are today, what lures should you use?
Thank you, sir. We like that radical glow.
This little guy has worked really well, 3/4 ounce jig head and just a green glow in the dark tube jig. Bigger jig head just gets you down and keeps you better contact. So the other trick we've kind of figured out is you got to let the fish chew on it just for a second so you get that first little tap. Give them another second and then just give it ever so gentle lift, and if you feel weight, then you set it.
To entice the lake trout to hit, Rob says to use cut bait, but don't put too big of a chunk on your lure.
And use that kind of a small piece, maybe even a little bit smaller.
Don't overbait it then.
Don't overbait. These guys don't like that. Oh! Oh my God!
I was just lifting it up to see where I was.
I kick you all out of my boat. I don't like any of you at the moment.
That was on white.
They're available pretty much year-round, but
They're available, yeah, just year-round. You know, a lot of people target them through the ice because they can get out over the habitats. But
where's good places when the ice comes on? I mean, we've always done the confluence or...
pretty much it's all the way down the lake. It's just where there's safe ice. So the first good place will be the confluence area, Black's Fork and Green River confluence, and then out in front of the cliffs that are just north of Current Creek will be good. Any of these flats here in this buckboard area. Some kind of a fish finder is definitely helpful because it helps you, one, know when the fish are down there and then be able to adjust your lure on depth.
Oh, you got him!
Based on whether the fish are right on the bottom or whether the fish are suspended up off the bottom.
Yep, we got another fish down there.
Oh my God!
Watch this. We're gonna get him. Eat it. Eat it. Eat it.
Oh my God!
Ah, we got a
Why
double.
they call it the Adam and Eagle Show.
Double hook set.
Oh.
The Eagle jinx is off. All right. You fish. That's 3 with the radical glow. Thanks, Jared Johnson. Little skinny guy, but he'll eat.
Man. I give up. Are you gonna get that thing or what? Folks can, without a boat, can fish from shore, casting spoons off of shore. I talked to an angler a week ago that he likes to cast out dead minnows and leave them on the bottom, and he has a lot of success with lake trout.
Oh, you better stick this one.
Oh my God!
Don't lose it.
Oh, shut up!
Don't lose it.
Shut up! There he is. Oh my God!
Good to see you finally getting on the board with your boat and everything.
I know.
Next up, we'll show you another technique to catch lake trout, but first, back to the guys at Fish Tech for some tips on getting your ice fishing gear ready for the season.
The weather is getting a little colder and the ice is going to come on pretty quick, so now's the time to get ready to go ice fishing. Hi, I'm Dan Smith from Fish Tech Outfitters. Here's a few things I like to check before I go out the first time. Number one, I've got some rope with me in case somebody does go through the ice. I can throw it to them and get them out. Number two is cleats. That first ice is slick. I don't want to fall down and hurt myself. I get ice picks. I make sure my ice picks are good and they work good. If you do fall through, that'll help you get out. The other thing I need to do is check my ice auger blades. Make sure the ice auger blades are good and sharp. I go get some ethanol-free gas because ethanol is bad on two-stroke engines. Also, if you have a four-stroke, make sure your oil in your four-stroke's changed. If you have battery-operated ice augers, make sure your batteries are good and charged. One more thing that I need to do is make sure my clothes are nice and fresh. They've been sitting in the tote all summer long, so I take them out and wash them so they're nice and fresh for winter ice fishing. The other thing is I change the line on my ice fishing rods because it's been sitting out in the heat all summer. For these tips and many more, come on down to Fish Tech and we'll help you out. Now for the ice fishing line.
So I set the crankbait out 120 feet and I hooked the planer board on and I'm gonna let it ride out another 80 to 100 feet. Now it's a waiting game.
Welcome back to Flaming Gorge. You know, another very effective technique to target lake trout pups is to troll for them.
We're trolling about 1.6 to 2 miles an hour, just kind of varies. And wherever we mark a concentration of fish, you know, or we catch a fish, we're swinging back on them and giving them another opportunity. But it's been pretty good. It's not super fast, but definitely a consistent bite. We've got 6 in the box and we've lost 3 so far. A lot of the fish that we're seeing are just right off the bottom, you know, in 60 to 80 feet of water, but we're also seeing fish up suspended in 20 to 40 feet of water. So we've got 2 different types of presentations out today. We got downriggers down, and they're riding about 60 feet right now. We've got spoons on those. And then we're also running planer boards out to the side, like you see over here on the left, and we're running crankbaits on those. So those crankbaits are diving about 15 to 20 feet, and then the planer board's pulling them out to the side. So we're targeting those shallow fish and the deep fish, and we've caught nothing but lake trout on both techniques. Fish, fish. Idle. This is Dodger squid.
The Dodger squid combo.
Oh, it's not coming off.
Oh, there's some famous last words.
That's not even a pup. That's a puppy. That's what we want to harvest, though. Good eater. The problem child of the lake right now.
You know, Ryan was the first to introduce my family to small lake trout, and they're very good, especially when baked.
Oh, it's a little eater laker.
They're my second favorite fish to eat from the gorge, right behind a kokanee.
It's real similar to like a pronghorn antelope. There's a lot of people that absolutely hate pronghorn antelope, and the people that love them, and I'm one of those people. I think lake trout are great, smoked, fried, baked, grilled, whatever you want to do.
Take care of them.
Take care of them and harvest them during the right time period. We're asking people to harvest the small fish, just that easy, huh? And that's exactly the eating size. Lake trout are one of the fish that's highest in omega-3 fatty acids too. A lot of people don't realize that, so they're extremely healthy. Got hit. I think he's on. Anglers need to help us out if they can, and we appreciate those efforts. They help us with burbot all the time, and we're asking for them to help one more time.
Well, we got another fish here.
It'll probably take some other additional efforts to reduce the population, but we've got to respond right now with anglers. That's a limit.
So whether you're like John or Rob and like to jig for lake trout, or like Ryan and Lowell and troll for lake trout, you can target them anyway by a boat. You know, and don't forget that, you know, by now there should be ice at the confluence at least here at Flaming Gorge. You can always target them through the ice. Done that as well. Taking my kids and had a great time. I got rainbows, burbot, lake trout. It's always a good time here at the gorge. Hey, more here coming up in a moment, but first, let's take a look at a different species in tonight's Utah Field Guide.
One of 3 different whitefish species endemic to Bear Lake, the Bonneville Cisco is no doubt the most recognized. Spending most of the year in the deeper portions of the lake, these 8 to 10-inch fish are not a sought-after sport fish, but in mid-January, the Cisco gather in large schools and move into the lake's rocky shallows to spawn. Back in the 1960s, anglers by the thousands would flock to the shores of Cisco Beach for the fabled Cisco Run. Nowadays, a hardy few can still be found braving the elements and dipping their nets in search of a limit of Cisco. Many avid anglers will catch their daily limit and freeze them for cutthroat and lake trout fishing for later in the year. On January 27th, about the peak of the Cisco Run, is also the Bear Lake Monster Winterfest, a family-friendly event where most of the activities take place at the Bear Lake State Park Marina. Activities include dip netting for Cisco at Cisco Beach, with prizes given out for the biggest Cisco caught. There's also a chili cook-off, a monster polar plunge where participants dress up and jump into the icy waters of Bear Lake, all for charity. For more information, log on to BearLakeMonsterWinterfest.com.
Boy, the fog this morning sure made it feel a lot colder, and now that the sun's out, it's actually not too bad out here for December. Well, pretty warm. Let's find out that recreation forecast now by turning it over to the guys and gals in the weather department. Hey, welcome back to KSL Outdoors. I'm Adam Meikle back here at Flaming Gorge. Don't forget, you have about 3 weeks to get signed up for the Burbot Bash coming the 26th here at Buckboard Marina, and then on February 3rd and 4th, right, Rob?
Correct.
You've got the Burbot Classic. Get out here, catch some burbot, and while you're at it, catch your limit of lake trout as well. For all the information, check our outdoors calendar page on our website at ksltv.com. I'll tell you what, you submit a snapshot of your limit of lake trout, we'll guarantee you to get on the show. Now I can't guarantee you'll win. You're gonna have to make kind of a pretty snapshot. A little better than this with the outhouse here behind us. But I guarantee you'll get on the show, and I'll give you a chance to win our big prize from Camp Chef. So that's our deal we'll make with you. So without further ado, let's turn it over to you for the snapshot of the week.
We kick it off with a daddy-daughter date back in December. Joe was up with his daughters, Lily and Abby. The fishing at the Berry was sunny and successful as both girls got in on the action. Lisa Eggett asks, what do you do after you get married? Well, you go on a hunting moon, of course. Lisa drew a limited entry elk tag this year and says it was a crazy summer making wedding plans and scouting the Wasatch. On the 3rd day of her hunt, she bagged her first bull with her husband at her side. She says it was the perfect wedding gift and a perfect honeymoon. Glenn and his family have been planning and saving for a do-it-yourself drop caribou hunt for years. Even though they had many grizzly bear encounters, Ted says they had a very enjoyable, successful hunt with great fishing and great company. Marty Ellis drew the sportsman tag for Rocky Mountain Goat. He hiked over 600 miles in 9 months of scouting and hunted every unit in the state. He finally harvested this record-book billy goat, taking him with his muzzleloader on the Tusher Range. And the best part, Marty's dad Mitch was there to help make this mountain memory last forever. But our winner tonight says people need to realize how good a hunt on a CWMU can be. Chris Gull drew a Southern Utah CWMU permit for buck deer. He could only hunt a day and a half due to his son's football commitments, but made the most of it. On the second morning, they spotted a few bucks 400 yards out, and as soon as Chris spotted this buck, his gut screamed out, "Shoot!" Chris says the best part of the hunt was having his son Corbin at his side, and the gracious operator, Jason Sorensen, who allowed them to hunt the property. A true Utah giant, Chris, that has now won you our big prize for having the snapshot of the week. Remember, submit your pictures or video plus an explanation of your latest outdoor adventures online at ksltv.com. The winner each week wins the new Striker multi-fuel backpacking stove that can be fueled by propane or butane. Plus, the winner is also entered into our Ford Trucks quarterly Facebook giveaway for Camp Chef Pellet Grill.
Build your outdoor kitchen with Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Oh my God. Felt a little bad there at the beginning. You and I were kind of giving the captain a hard time catching fish, and it took him a while, but he finally came through.
He did. He always pulls through in the end.
He does,
He
doesn't
might have
he?
a slow start, but he'll catch up in a hurry.
Oh my God!
We had to let him catch a fish. We don't want to swim back.
Oh, right, yeah.
Us Utah boys, we owe you guys for that smallmouth tournament a few years ago. Hey, thanks for inviting us out. What a beautiful day. And like we talked about earlier, you know, the Burbot Bash 3 weeks away. When guys come out for the Burbot Bash, you're going to have plenty of ice, hopefully. You know, get out here, target those burbot in the evening, go out and hit the main channel, just off the main channel, and get some pups. Good time. Burbot and the Classic, just a few weeks away. So get out here and enjoy the beautiful scenery, and hopefully you're lucky like we were today, the beautiful weather. I'm Adam Eco, KSL Outdoors. We'll see you next weekend. Good night.